Former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio tells Reuters he thinks he could get $2 to $5 million from the Trump administration's so-called anti-weaponization fund. Tarrio was convicted of seditious conspiracy in connection with the January 6th riot. Two police officers who defended the Capitol on that day are now suing to block the fund. One of them, Daniel Hodges, was on the Daily Report last night.
There's no reason that the government should be giving these people money. So many of them pled guilty in a court of law, and they had very fair trials. I was there. I testified in them. I was there at sentencing. There was no conspiracy. There was no political railroading. It's just that they committed crimes, and they recorded themselves doing these crimes.
CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now from the North Lawn to discuss this. Ed, good Thursday morning to you. So on this anti-weaponization fund, as the administration is calling it, we're seeing some bipartisan pushback. What exactly are you hearing, and how is the administration responding? They must have expected there'd be this type of friction.
Well, the Justice Department, Errol, hasn't really commented specifically on this lawsuit, at least not to CBS News, so we're awaiting further comment from them. But you are starting to see a handful of Republicans, the kind that are in tough re-election fights this November or who have already lost their primaries and won't be on a ballot this fall, starting to speak up in ways that other Republicans either won't, can't, or just don't agree to do so. But there is concern about the idea that essentially the president is, in essence, not only providing money for his supporters, those that participated in the insurrection and others who may have been dragged into court for whatever reason over the last several years, but also the idea now that the IRS situation has been settled, and he's in essence pardoning himself from any future issues before the tax agency or in general. And so, you know, there's this belief that either Congress is going to have to do something to block the funding and make clear that no such fund could exist, which would require Republicans to really defy the president on a key and very sensitive issue, or some kind of lawsuit's going to have to work, and it's unclear which one could. The police officer you heard from there and another, Harry Dunn, two of the most prominent Capitol Police officers who spent years speaking out ever since the insurrection, filed suit yesterday. But legal experts suggest they may not have standing to do this because they're not necessarily directly involved in the president's decision, and whether there's some other kind of legal challenge that can be mounted at this point is unclear.
And on your point about the resistance from Republicans, it's interesting because those now speaking out are allies of the president who have lost recently to the president's backed candidates in their primaries. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana is standing out to me. So help us understand the inner workings of the GOP and how common this type of thing is.
Well, he's part of what our Caitlin Huey-Burns has started calling the YOLO caucus, or the idea that, now that they're unmoored from re-election responsibilities and any real need to stand with the president in order to get Republican base voters to support them, that they can start speaking their conscience and at times voting against the president's wishes. Cassidy was asked about this, and here's part of his response.
Are we seeing Bill Cassidy unleashed after the primary?
I know that's a narrative, but I've always said that I'm going to do whatever's best for my city, for my state and my country. And if you think about what I'm answering, people always look past what your answer is into some narrative that they think underlies.
I think it'll be curious, though, Errol, to know if this had been announced last week before his primary in Louisiana, would he have been so outspoken and critical and suggesting that he was going to try to do something about it? Now that he's not in the runoff and essentially a lame duck, he's saying what he's saying. So we'll see. But again, it's going to require a lot of Republicans joining with Democrats to stop this through law or some kind of creative legal challenge that so far hasn't surfaced.
Yeah, no, very key question, Ed. Timing is everything. Ed O'Keefe at the White House for us.